I did receive some questions in advance, so I'll start with those and hope to receive your questions on the Q&A shortly. And the first question is, are all courses offered all year? Will I be able to start the program in the summer?
Yeah, this is Rick. Let me start with that. Courses in the program are offered all 3 semesters throughout the year, and that is fall, spring, and summer. Most of the courses are offered every semester, but there are some of the electives that are only offered in selective semesters, partly because of the demand and partly because of the availability of the instructor. Our program is not a cohort program, and so what that means is you can start any semester, and we do have what's called rolling admission, which means you can apply anytime and you can start your program any semester. Jim, anything to add?
The only thing you might want to be aware of is if you look on the website that Ayanna mentioned, the ep.jhu.edu, and go to Student Services, you will find the academic calendar there. And that'll tell you when registration opens for each semester. And usually it's the current semester and 2 semesters in the future that you'll see.
Great, thank you for that. And I will, I'll put a link to Student Services and to the calendar in the chat in just a few. The first question we have in the Q&A is, do you have many military or veteran students?
So the simple answer is yes, we have quite a few. Active duty and veteran. We also have quite a few government contractor and Department of Defense agency. But I will say that the program has changed its demographics significantly over the last 5 or 6 years. About 5 years ago, we were predominantly military, Department of Defense or defense contractor. And today we're about 50-50, including industry, commercial companies, send their staff to us. And so if you participate in our program, yes, we are very oriented towards military and veterans, but we also have commercial industry students.
Great, thank you for that, Rick. The next question from Paola. Technical leadership is still an option. Is technical leadership still an option under the master's program?
Yes, it is. We actually have 16 tracks. 15 of them are in the technical disciplines that Ayanna had on the slide. And if you're paying close attention to that slide, you will notice the 16th track, which is technical leadership. And the way that works is it's the same 5 core courses for everyone, and then 5 electives from the engineering management program. And those electives include courses like advanced agile project management, advanced technology, innovation. We have a couple of courses in quality assurance, and we are planning to develop a couple of new courses. One is going to be data science for the technical leader, and another course we're planning to do is supply chain and product line management. So those are planned to come up in another year, those new courses.
Great, thank you for that. The next question from Oma. What are the most important things you look for in an application for a student to be qualified to get into the program, apart from the 3 important requirements you mentioned?
Jim, how about if you take that one?
Yeah. So what we're looking for is an academic background predominantly in science and engineering. However, I will tell you that we actually look at anyone's background and make sure that when we see your undergraduate program, that what we're going to present you with in engineering management makes sense, that it dovetails well into what you've seen. We also look at your resume to see what is it you're doing now, and if there are any hints in what you may aspire to do in the future. It gives us an idea of where your career goals are and whether they line up well with the objectives of the program. Then we also look at your academic performance, looking for a 3.0. However, that can vary a little bit depending upon the level of your experience. For those who are from the military, we tend to also look at your military experience as well in a very broad sense, kind of a holistic sense. And if you've gotten your degree more recently, your earlier military experience can be considered. One thing I'll mention for anyone out there who's been doing internships, we don't necessarily consider internships as relevant experience. We're really looking at your experience after you've been awarded your degree and how you're applying yourself and how that leads to a desire to enter into program or project management or even technical leadership of staff and other personnel. There's variation in everything. As we look at it, it's a very holistic kind of view of everyone.
Great, thank you for that, Jim. The next question from Luis, is it possible to get accepted into the overall program, but not your selected track? What options exist if that is the case?
Well, that can happen. The actual thresholds for admission in the various tracks vary a little bit in the mind of their coordinators as well. Some are very, very strict about your GPA. Another thing that you'll find will come into play when you're looking at different tracks is whether or not you have the prerequisite classes that the track necessarily requires. Please be advised that when you apply to a track, you are looked at as if you were applying to your entire master's program in that track discipline. So let's say, for example, you want to do a computer science track. Your admission will be held to the same standards as a student who comes in and wants to get a master's degree in computer science, not just an engineering management degree with a track in computer science. And I bring up computer science because that's one of the most rigorous tracks in terms of required prerequisites. Programming, computer organization, computer engineering, and structure, all of that is basically required to get into that particular track. Not all tracks have heavy prerequisites. For example, if you were looking at the system engineering track, their view of your application is very similar to our view from an engineering management perspective. And so there aren't a great deal of prerequisite classes they are looking at. So it's a little bit less analytically oriented, where computer science, mechanical engineering, data science are all heavier in the analytical sense. And so you'd be held to more prerequisite requirements. That was a long answer to a short question. I hope that helps.
Yeah, Jim, I'm going to make it just a little bit longer. So for engineering management, to build on Jim's point, you would essentially have two applications to submit, one to engineering management and one to your selected track, and be accepted by both. There is one exception to that, and that is the technical leadership track is under the engineering management program. And so you would only have one application and you would be admitted to both engineering management and the technical leadership track if that's the one that you chose. And of course, since there is no application fee, the only cost is the time it takes you to fill out those applications, and they're pretty straightforward and they're all available online.
Great, thank you both for that thorough answer, much appreciated. The next question, is there a language certificate requirement for international students? And if so, could the language level be verified in some other way? So yes, you do need to submit your TOEFL score for English proficiency or the International English Language, IELTS. And I'll also put a link to that in the chat. There are also some international credential evaluations that you'll have to go through just to ensure that your degree is in line with our degree program so that you're set up to succeed in our master's program. And so I will put the admissions requirements for international students in the chat as well. Did you all want to add anything?
Ayana, yeah, I'm going to add that the English proficiency that Ayana just spoke of is a requirement of the engineering professionals program, regardless of which degree you're pursuing. And do take a close look at the information on the website, because not only is it informative, but I think there may be some specific exceptions depending upon what university you went to or what is the primary language of that university that may allow you to waive that requirement as a foreign national.
Yes, there is a TOEFL waiver guide on the website as well. So what he just said, all true. And again, I'll link that in our chat in just a few minutes. The next question from Kirti, what are the prerequisites for technical leadership?
specifically, it's the things that I mentioned earlier. They're looking for a 3.0 in an undergraduate degree program. There's predominantly science or engineering, although we have some flexibility there depending upon what it is you're doing and what you aspire to do. 2 years relevant experience. So 2 years of good, solid experience working for an employer where you would want to employ what you learned from the engineering management program. Specific class prerequisites are not an issue with technical leadership.
Yeah, that's a great point, Jim. Thank you. That there are no admission prerequisites other than the admission requirements that Ayana went over and Jim just summarized again. I will add, though, once you enter the program, it is important to pay attention to the prerequisites of the courses in the program, because there are some courses that build on each other and have specified prerequisites once you're admitted and taking the courses for the engineering management degree.
Let me bring up one other aspect of admission that, or acceptance, I should say, that everyone should be aware of. If we think that your academic background doesn't line up as well, or we have some questions in looking through your transcript from your undergraduate work, and we do look at not just the GPA, but we'll look at the classes you've taken and how you did in all those classes. In some cases, if we're not certain that you would absolutely be successful in our program, we might give you a conditional acceptance. And that means you'll be required to take 1 or 2 classes prior to gaining full acceptance in the program. And for those classes, you must earn a B- or better grade to be accepted fully. So that does happen on occasion.
All right, great. Thank you for that. The next question, how many courses could be taken per semester? Is there a minimum or maximum amount?
Yeah, so I'll take that one. The requirement for the degree is 10 courses completed over a period of not more than 5 years. And so if you do the math quickly, you'll see that you can take a semester or 2 off during that 5-year period. Most of our students typically take 1 course per semester. And again, that means that you'll typically complete the program of 10 courses in about 3 to 3.5 years. The reason they do that is that they're all working professionals. And so they're balancing work, life, and education. And so I say that as a typical 1 course per semester. We have seen students sometimes take 2 courses per semester. But again, if you're balancing a full-time job and a growing family, more than 1 course a semester could be a challenge. But there is no formal minimum requirement other than complete the program within 5 years. And there is no ceiling. There's no hard stop ceiling in terms of number of courses allowed to take per semester. Just be very choiceful.
Yeah, one thing I would add to that is that if you're going to take more than 1, check in with your advisor and see what your advisor thinks about the multiple classes you might want to take. As an advisor myself, I generally really don't recommend taking more than 2 for someone who's fully employed and has a family or a life outside of work as well. There is no real upper limit, but an advisor can actually cap the number of classes you're going to take depending upon your circumstances. So 2 is kind of the maximum recommended. If you're not working, if you're, say, on leave or on an educational leave program from your employer where you're getting paid to go to school, then I've had students taking 3, 4, and sometimes 5 classes a semester. I had one student years ago that was on educational leave and did all 10 classes in 1 year. It's very unusual and not recommended, but he did it. So that's sort of some guidelines. Also, since I mentioned advisor, let me mention that if you're in a technical leadership track, you'll have one advisor who will advise you for both engineering management and technical leadership. If you're in any of the other tracks, you will have a technical track advisor as well as an engineering management advisor. And so you need to work with both of them as you plan your as you plan your course load and what classes you're going to take.
Great, thank you for that, Jim. I don't see any other questions in the Q&A, but we did get a few questions in the chat. And be sure if you have questions, go ahead and submit those in the Q&A function right now. I answered the TOEFL question. Is the master's a master's in engineering or a master's of science?
Yeah, the formal degree is a Master of Engineering Management.
There we go. Do we have any other questions from the audience this evening? I don't see anything else in the Q&A, but we want to take advantage of this time.
Ayana, let me go back to that question about military and just give a very specific example. I'm teaching a course in the summer semester. We have 16 students, in our section, and 4 of them are active duty military. So just as an example, in terms of real time, that might help shed some light on that question.
Yes, and we also have a person, there's a new person, but there is a person in our HR department at Hopkins that works directly with the military services academically. And so if you email JHEP and put that here, then I can put you in direct contact with the new person, because the old person's not there anymore. Do you all have anything else you want to add? If we don't get any additional Q&As, we will begin to close out the session.
Ayana, let me add something about the delivery method of our courses. Within the engineering management courses, both the 5 core courses and the majority of the electives, they are offered asynchronous online. And so what that means is you kind of take them at a weekly pace. Because they're online, you can take them from anywhere in the world as long as you have an internet connection, which is particularly valuable as a working professional or active duty military. If you get sent away from home, you can still access the course, keep up with the material. Many of the courses have student team projects and have interaction with each other and with the professors via Zoom or Microsoft Teams to get some personal connection and Q&A. And so I did want to add that in case any of the students are either not in the Baltimore, Washington area or anywhere else around the country. We did want to reinforce that you can take the program completely online.
Great, thank you for that, Rick. I don't see any additional questions in the queue. Oh, yes. When will the spring 2020 application be available? You mean 2021? Spring 2021, I'm on the academic calendar right now because I don't want to give you misinformation. March 25th, 2021, registration opens for summer 21. And so that will be the next.
Right. So let me help us out here. We're in summer 2021 semester right now.
So sorry, my brain is doing things.
And the fall semester, you're looking at the academic calendar.
Yeah. So spring 2022 is October 28th, 2021. So that is when registration opens for spring 22.
Right. And you can be submitting applications now for a start. You can even submit an application for a start in fall of 21. If you're interested, there's still opportunity to do that. And Ayana just mentioned you can be applying for the spring semester of 2022, and registration for that starts in October.
Correct. Sorry about that. All right. The dates are throwing me a bit. Time is flying right now.
Yeah.
Do you all mind, or someone mind, going over the admissions requirements one more time? Someone had a question just about specific admissions requirements, general and specific.
Jim, go ahead.
Yeah. So we'd like to see an academic degree in science or engineering from an accredited university, either here or international, a GPA grade point average of 3.0, and 2 years of relevant professional work experience after the bachelor's degree. Generally, internships are not considered relevant experience. And that's the general admission requirements. And you'll find that to be across most of the EP programs, including a lot of our tracks. If you were applying to a track topic and you wanted to get a master's in that, their general admission requirements in the door are just the ones that I stated for you, aside from discussing prerequisite classes that you need in your undergraduate program to qualify for a technical track, as in computer science, mechanical engineering, data science, something like that.
All right, I hope that answers your question. We have a question that's specific to one person. I don't know if one of you can go in the Q&A to answer that question, but I'm not sure. And I don't want to read out loud because it's personal information. If you all let me know if you can access the Q&A and answer the first question there. You can answer it, like you can type your answer in, or you can say it out loud if you like, but I'll give you time. I'm going to go to the next question. Are the payments handled per course, or is there only one payment for the whole program? So you pay per course, and the cost right now is $4,775 per course. So we suggest students to budget between $47,555 and $50,000, including your book. There are no additional fees outside of the $100 graduation fee. And then what is the other thing I wanted to mention? 78% of our students have their tuition covered by their employer. So you definitely want to check with your employer just to ensure that you don't have a tuition remission or a tuition reimbursement benefit, because you want to take full advantage of that. We unfortunately do not offer funding within Hopkins, but there are resources for you to get outside funding. If you are an underrepresented minority, you can look at the GEM Fellowship, and I'll put a link to that in the chat as well. As a veteran, of course, you have that benefit. So yes, that's financial information right there. The next question is the program accredited, ABET accredited?
So I know we're, go ahead, Jim.
No, go ahead.
I know we are Maryland Higher Education Council accredited. I would have to look at the ABET. I'm not personally familiar with that. Ayana, do you know about ABET accreditation for EP?
Yes, so I know that there are certain programs that are ABET. So mechanical engineering is ABET accredited. I don't know the rest offhand, but we could certainly double check that for you and get back to you. I put the general email address is at the bottom, jhep@jhu.edu. They would probably have that answer faster than I would. So if you just ask that question, shoot it to that email, they'll be able to let you know. I know that it's specific to certain departments.
Going back to the specific admission question that I see at the top, we would have to convert those numbers to the 3.0 scale and see how that compares. Your best bet is to give it a shot. There's no application fee, so there's no money out of pocket if you wish to apply. When you contact EP, your application goes to an admissions coordinator. If it's for engineering management, she will generally contact me if there are any questions ahead of time, or if an applicant poses a question with these kind of parameters as you put in there, and we might be able to take a look ahead of time before any official acceptance or non-acceptance is issued. So there's a lot of flexibility. The numbers that I see don't correlate to the GPA on a 4.0 scale, I should say. And so we'd have to adjust and make that correlation happen before we could make a decision.
Right, and with respect to English proficiency, there may also be some alternatives there. I understand that Johns Hopkins does offer a English as a second language, not for credit course. And so if to the points that Jim's making, if your other background is sufficient for admissions, it would certainly be worth having a conversation with the admissions coordinator about alternatives for English language proficiency.
Great, thank you.
I just thought of one more thing I'd like to mention about prerequisite classes and conditional acceptance. Please note that if a track requires prerequisite classes from you, they do not count toward the degree. They can be taken at Hopkins or other universities, but they are necessary to grant you acceptance into the track for that program. If you get a conditional acceptance, your conditional classes do count toward your degree. We're just having you take the specific conditional classes, maybe 2 of them in sequence, 1 at a time, to ensure that you will do well with the rest of the program, but they would count toward your degree.
Great, thank you for that, Jim. And the next question, do graduates attend commencement? Is that an option or a requirement? And you do have the option to attend commencement. Your degree says Johns Hopkins University Whiting School of Engineering. It does not say online or part-time. And it's actually a wonderful event. So it would, it behooves you to attend, but you don't have to attend right, commencement at the end of the year. But it's for all of our master's students, not just the part-time and online. I think that was the last question. Do we have any other questions from our prospective students this evening? Okay, Rick and Jim, do you have anything you'd like to say before we close out our session this evening?
Rick?
I think we've been pretty thorough in terms of your summary material and the Q&A.
Yes, I see. I'm sorry, a question popped up. There is no application fee, so it's not a waiver. There's no application fee, so you can move forward with applying. You have nothing to lose. You don't have any money to lose, is what I'm saying. Yes, sorry, go ahead. You were taking it away.
I don't have anything to add. I think we covered it all.
All right, great. Thank you both for joining us
Sure.
and getting questions answered this evening. If you all have any further questions, shoot an email to the email address that I'm putting in the chat. Once more, if they can't answer your questions, they'll be sure to get it to someone who can. And we look forward to seeing you all in our virtual classrooms. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Good night.
Good night.